So now we have our leaf created, and I'm gonna get rid of this point light, and now we can come back to our twig, and I'm gonna change this again to the M3 node 3, and here we should have our custom node 3. There we are. So now we can select here this leaf object with this eyedropper and execute, and now we will have our twigs nicely created. So let's make some variations of this twig. I'm gonna make some of more branches like this one, a little bit more gravity. There we go. I think I'm going to tweak a little bit more randomness, and I can now duplicate this with Shift and D, move it right over here, and now I can select this one and make another variation. Like for example, I'm going to decrease the branch numbers, something like this one. Change the seed to have another variation. Okay, Shift and D, let's create another one, a little bit less of gravity. There we go, something like this. Shift and D, and let's make another one because they are free. So for example, I'm going to change the seed of this one. There we go, let's change the seed. Yeah, this one for example, it could work. So now we have these 4 twigs here created. I'm going to organize a little bit the outliner. So for example, here we have our leaf in this collection. So I'm going to call this collection leaf. I'm going to grab these 4 twigs, and here in the viewport I'm going to press M and move to a new collection. I'm going to call this collection twigs, and then we have the tree over here. So now back in our tree, I'm going to select this tree and press this update tree button, and now I can activate the auto update, and now we have here these options to create leaves. I'm going to enable it. Now we have to select the twig that we want, so for example this one, and we will have our leaves already placed. And now we can change here some settings like the leaf amount. For example, I'm going to set here 1000, and you will see less amount of leaves. I think 3000 was okay. And we can change, for example, the leaf size. I'm going to make it bigger or smaller. 0.1 is about right. It's looking nice, and we are getting there. Now notice one thing. If I select these leaves, we have actually here a object with a particle system. And we can change some values here in the particle system as well. But an important thing to notice is that if we go to render, we have here the option, and now it's rendering as an object, and it's this 3002, which is this object over here. But actually what we want is to render this as a collection, as we have created this twigs collection. Now we can select here the twigs collection and pick random, and now we are going to be using these 4 different twigs in this particle system. So we add more randomness to the tree and consequently more realism. I think we need to increase a little bit the scale, maybe 0.12, yeah, something like this. Maybe we can increase the scale randomness a little bit, and yeah, increase a little bit the scale. It's important to keep watching the references. I think this is pretty much the actual size of these leaves. So now the last thing we have to do here is the bark material. So let's see. Before adding the bark material, now is when we go to the tree parameters, and in the output settings select final. So when we update the tree, all the branches are going to merge. And this resolution value over here, it says 16, are actually the vertices of this cylinder. So yeah, 16 seems a good value for this example. Take into account that every time you change some value here in the tree parameters, the particle system of the leaves are going to change as well. So you just have to go to the particle settings and in render change again to collection and just tweak again the scale. Now for the bark material, the add-on comes with some procedural materials for it. If you go here to the side panel and go to the M3 tab, you can click here in append materials. So if I select a tree and go to materials, we will have here some procedural materials, but they are actually a little bit expensive in terms of rendering, and it doesn't work quite well with Eevee. So instead of this, we are going to use our own material. I'm going to be using this material from CG Bookcase. I will leave the link in the description, it's free. So here in Blender, I'm going to change this window to the shader editor and create a new material. I'm gonna call it bark. And just as we did before, I'm going to drag and drop my textures. For example, I have here the base color, connect the base color, and if I select this texture now, and I press Ctrl T, I'm gonna place a mapping node. So maybe we have to tweak a little bit this scale over here. Maybe the scale in the y-axis, a little bit, something like this. I'm going to import my roughness map, set it to non-color data, connect the mapping node, and this goes to the roughness. I always like to place here a converter color ramp to tweak a little bit this roughness map. So for example, if I preview this node, I'm going to increase a little bit the contrast, just a little bit, maybe decrease the specular of this material. I'm going to import the normal map, connect the mapping node, set it to non-color data, and connect it to the normal. But before this, I need a vector normal map and tweak a little bit the strength, something like this. Looks quite nice. Maybe we have to insert here a color hue saturation value and maybe decrease a little bit this value, this saturation as well. So yeah, something like this. Let's go to the rendered view. I'm going to increase the strength of the world. So it's looking really great. So now we just need to make some different variations of this tree. I'm going to move this tree to one side. And in the M3 node tree, I'm going to disconnect this tree from these three parameters. I'm going to change the output to preview and don't create leaves. So if I don't have anything selected, I can create tree. And we have another tree. Now this is pretty much the same as before. I'm going to check auto update. Now you can click, for example, randomize tree. It's going to randomize this tree with the same parameters. It's actually changing the seed of these different nodes. If I click here and take a look at the seed, I can simply tweak some parameters of the branch node, or for example, I'm going to decrease the length here to this tree. Maybe it's more something over here. For example, decrease the radius a little bit, something like this. And once you're happy with the new settings, you just have to check again the creation of leaves. So here we are with the leaves, and change the output to final. Update the tree, and there we are. Now remember to change the settings of the particle system to render as collection, and pick random, select the collection of course, and just tweak again the scale a little bit, maybe the randomness. And now we just need to copy the same material from this bark. So I can go here to material and drag and drop this little icon to the trunk, and we are done. We have another variation of the tree. So I'm gonna make this one more time to have 3 trees, and we will be pretty much done. And that's it. We have 3 variations of this tree. I'm going to close this window, and now I can create a new collection here. I'm going to call it false acacia, and move these trees to this collection. So in this way you will be able to append this collection to another blend file and have these nice trees in your scene. Let's see how it looks with the rendered view. I'm going to disable this background. If I go here into the render settings, film, and check transparent, you will hide the background to see a little bit better, and they are looking really nice. I'm going to add quickly a sun lamp to see how the light passes through the leaves. So I select this sun. I'm going to maybe rotate it a little bit this side. I'm going to increase this value to something like, I don't know, 5 maybe, and I'm going to change this color to something warmer. For example, something like that, maybe more from the side. And I'm going to decrease this world background, so we have like a sunset scene, and as we can see here, the light is passing through the leaves, look at this nice lighting and the material. And if we look from behind, we are going to see this behavior of the translucent leaf. So yeah, this is pretty much it. So now it's your turn. Make some nice trees and make some render and share it. Take care and have fun.